Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan or Robberbite, and this week I went on a journey, an adventure, a quest to rule the ages! Just to give you guys some context, the first time I watched this special, it was during a time where we only had broadcast television in my house, but my brother owned it on VHS, and boy, when I tell you, we wore that VHS out. We would always just pop that thing in the VCR whenever we didn't have something to watch. I'm the youngest in my household, so I'd always be like, I'm bored. And then my brother'd be like, History of Trunks for the millionth time? And I'd be like, yeah. I haven't seen it in about 10 years, but I just remember watching it again and again through my childhood, and I never got tired of it. I've always loved it. I'm just interested to see, are my opinions any different? Do I still feel the same? Maybe I'll just go back and I'll be like, this is okay. So my question, does the History of Trunks hold up today? Or was I just tripping as a young lad? I love being nasty. The story begins with something that I just remember really surprising me as a kid. Goku's death. Yeah, this is crazy to see after you've gone so much time in your life looking at Goku as the world's strongest. I mean, this man is a whole alien like Superman, but he gets taken out by the flu. 6 months later, the androids appear, and just to give you a quick idea of who they are, they're basically robots that were created by Dr. Gero. I'll get back to them a little later. Now, one thing I've always loved about this TV special is the fact that the way the narrator comes in is just so hilarious. He's like, Piccolo was the first to try and the first to die. I was like, oh shit, why'd he say that? That's hilarious. And boy, was that statement some good foreshadowing. The androids got Vegeta, Yamcha, Tien, and then again I had to laugh because he's like, they even got Krillin. Vegeta and Bulma came together and made the drippiest Saiyan in existence. I love the way that Trunks dresses. As an introduction, I think this TV special did a great job at establishing Trunks as a character. One thing I love that stands out right from the beginning is the fact that Trunks really carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. I guess he has to do that because if it weren't for him and Gohan, there'd literally be no one to save the world. So he carries the weight of the world on his shoulders, and with good reason. And I mean, seriously, this kid has a heart of gold. I remember when him and Gohan get back to Trunks' house, Trunks immediately just starts crying, and I'm like, oh no, I love this kid. This kid is amazing. He feels so deeply about people dying that he doesn't even know. They're not a part of his life. They don't mean anything to him. But at the end of the day, because people are being killed mercilessly, he takes it upon himself to really feel their pain and empathize with them. It really helped endear Trunks to me, like right off the bat. And how do you not love the line when Trunks says, I'd rather fight and die than watch this happen? I like the fact that when we're introduced to Trunks, he's already kind of up to snuff. He's not all the way there yet, but he's pretty close to becoming Super Saiyan. I'm assuming from his size and his build that he was older than Gohan when Goku died, but that's just me assuming, of course. Real niggas don't fact check. Fine, I'm checking. God, get off my back. Speaking of Super Saiyan, he is really fortunate that somebody was left around to actually teach him about that. And that's where my favorite character in all of DBZ finally shows up. Even from his entrance alone, where Gohan lands on top of the building and he's wearing Goku's gi and the obnoxious ass lighting behind him, that image of Gohan has always been burned in my memory my entire life. When I was a kid, I thought this was the coolest intro of anything ever in existence. Oh wait, I don't want to seem like a dick rider. I mean, he cool. He cool. I love Gohan in the mentor role. I feel like it's so fitting for his character. And he had me busting out laughing when he's like, Trunks, you're a pitiful and emotional wreck. I was like, damn, Gohan, tell him how you really feel. Tell him he's bitch made. In my opinion, this is the best version of Gohan we have ever seen. I feel like his temperament is the closest to Goku out of any of his iterations. And he also has like this distinct calm part of his personality. Like you can tell just by looking at him that he's a seasoned veteran on the battlefield. Side note, when Gohan agrees to be Trunks' mentor, I love how Bulma comes in with groceries talking about, you guys wouldn't be stupid enough to fight the androids, right? And you can simply enough see that Trunks is just basically afraid. But I love the fact that when you look at Gohan's face at that moment, he's like, huh? There's also a moment in the special where I genuinely felt so sad for Chi-Chi. Usually I'm like, oh my God, shut up, stop nagging. But in this universe, things are a bit different. When she's holding the picture of her family, I really feel for her, having lost the only man that she loves and also having the knowledge that Gohan is literally going out there every day risking his life fighting the androids. I feel like as a kid that moment kind of flew by, but as a grown man, I don't know, it kind of hit me in the feels a little bit. I've done a lot of talking about the other characters in this special, but I think it's about time we make our way over to the androids. I'm not gonna lie here, I kind of look at the androids within this special to be like the least interesting characters in the whole thing. As I stated earlier, the androids were created by Dr. Gero for the purposes of world domination. And I think the most interesting thing about them is the fact that they actually went against their programming. They basically formed their own identities. 17 has a more, I'll say, destructive personality. He honestly reminds me of a kid, which I'm pretty sure 18 mentions herself. 18 also has the capability to want to just kill and harm people for fun. Basically, they kill people and rack up points and they make like a whole game out of it. It's really sick and twisted. But I get the sense that she really just kind of wants to be a girl. I think 17 is the element in her life that brings her back to the destructive mindset. A scene that always stood out to me is one where she's in a store trying out outfits and she actually lets the shop owner keep his life. Well, that was nice of her. All because he gave her a compliment and she liked the outfits that he gave her. And then of course 17 immediately just blows the store sky high. I feel like this scene is perfect in the TV special because it really illustrates who they are at their core to us. Now, getting back to the plot, Gohan's basically been training Trunks up to the point where they're now ready to start approaching the androids for a fight. And I'm just gonna cut through the chase here. The fight does not go well. Trunks basically just turns himself into a liability at the cost of Gohan's arm. I hate to have to word it like that, but I'm honestly just calling it like I see it. One thing I do like about this scene though is it gave Gohan a chance to have a really good character moment. When he pulls out his senzu beans, at first he has the intention to just take it himself, like that's his first thought. But then he says to himself, what would my dad do in this situation? And he gives the senzu bean to Trunks and I'm just like, oh man, Gohan being the mentor, you gotta love it. But when they make it back to the house, I'm kind of like, screw you, Trunks. Got Gohan over here looking all soft body like that. This is crazy. I also really enjoy the conversation that Gohan had with Trunks about becoming Super Saiyan. He thinks about Piccolo and Krillin's deaths and he talks about how basically a dam bursts within him. It gets to the point where he's like, it's maddening. And I'm like, oh yeah. You serious? You really serious? It kind of solidifies what I remember about Super Saiyan as a kid. It's kind of that point where you're in such despair that I feel like you're almost cut off. It's like you have so much emotion that you literally just have no emotion. It's hard to put my finger on, but I feel like his conversation with Trunks was a good way to put it into perspective. It's rage, but it's like once you get a step beyond rage. At the tail end of their conversation, a massive explosion envelops a city in the distance. A side note, telling someone they can come along with you and then karate chop actioning their neck is crazy. Gohan hit that man with Z-Quil, melatonin, and some mo shit. Sleep tight, little man. Sorry, I'm a villain and I need to be stopped. I'm not gonna lie, at this moment, I was sitting on the edge of my seat because I knew what battle was coming and I knew what was coming after the battle. And it's one of the first things I can remember within animation that made me cry. So no real need to say this, but I was bracing myself. Let me just say that this was one of my favorite fights in all of DBZ. I find Gohan's fighting style to be really unique and kind of fascinating. I love the fact that Gohan just slams a ki blast into the ground and then you see him like make a force field out of the ki and I'm just like, bro, what is happening? I feel like Gohan is letting out his inner beast mode and I just love it. And I guess it makes sense because, you know, he's single-handedly fighting the androids at this part. Hello? Oh, that was too soon for the single-handed thing? Really? Oh, my bad. My bad, G. Yeah, bro, I'm cutting that part of the video out right now. Like I said, it's one of my favorite fights within the series, even though it's short. And I guess I probably am putting a little bit of paprika on it. But with the setup in terms of how he goes to the fight, like the sacrifice he makes by knocking out Trunks and basically going there on his own with one hand. And also when you think about what happens at the end of the fight, I guess that also just adds to the gravity or the weight I felt while watching it. But I have to admit, I really was thrilled by watching Gohan's fighting style and also just seeing how he was fighting them with one arm. I mean, it was crazy. This thunderstorm will be the perfect backdrop for your demise. And the foreshadowing in that scene had me like, my emotional senses are tingling. Yeah, as a grown man, that's the last time I'm ever gonna go. Gohan put a really good fight up against those androids, but they overpowered him. I'm not gonna lie here. I didn't cry, but I was very close. And I'm like, this makes no sense to me. This had me balling up in tears when I was a kid. I'm a grown man now, and I'm still feeling the same emotions. What is happening? It just breaks my heart every time I see this scene, and I think 17 was spitting. This is the perfect backdrop for Gohan's demise. This is crazy. It really hits me when Trunks is slowly approaching Gohan, and with each step closer and closer and closer to him, I feel like I'm wanting to break down more and more and more. I think this is one of the most important moments in anime history for me. It's up there with Ash turning to stone for me. I'm not so much sad about Gohan dying himself because we only have, 15, 20 minutes with him tops at this point. I think what really had me hurt was seeing Trunks' reaction to the situation. It wasn't about the time that we spent with Gohan. It was about the time that Trunks spent with Gohan, and especially the time he spent with him off screen. Think about it, all the Z Warriors are dead. Literally, not only is Gohan, I would say probably like an older brother, maybe a pseudo father figure to Trunks, but even at that, he's probably Trunks' only friend. And I've gotta tell you, other than Teen Gohan, this is probably my favorite Super Saiyan transformation in the entire Dragon Ball Z series. When you hear Trunks start to belt out his emotions, and you see him start clenching his fists and the blood is coming down from his hands, and then you see that little yellow flicker just before he goes Super Saiyan, and then he slams the ground, I want to jump out of my seat and be like, yes, Trunks, yes! Or something like that. We shift back over to Bulma, who's basically built a time machine, and she did it so that Trunks can take an antidote so that he can go back in time and save Goku from his virus, and maybe things will go different. But before Trunks goes back in time, he is determined to take one more ass whooping from the androids. He's like, I can get my ass beat at least one more time within this runtime. So like I said, he confronts the androids again. One thing I will mention is I love the fact that he gets to use burning attack in the middle of this fight. Other than that, I might as well just cut to the chase like I did before. He literally just gets washed and somehow ends up back at home. I'm just gonna assume that Bulma picked him up, but I don't know, I'm just assuming. One thing I think we can all learn from Trunks is that you should probably listen to your mama. The story ends with Trunks getting on the time machine, and then the next time we catch up with him, basically in the show where he's cutting through Frieza like butter. To answer the question that I posed in the beginning, I'll say for me, it totally holds up. Obviously, the animation is from the 90s, so do with that what you will. But I enjoyed the fights, I had a good amount of laughs, I felt emotionally invested in the story. As far as I'm concerned, the special took a W. I just think it serves its purpose in terms of showing us Trunks, his timeline, what happened with the world, showing us who his mentor was. I think it ultimately did what it set out to do. And rewatching this has definitely solidified in my mind that, yeah, this is and always will be a part of my favorite arc in all of Dragon Ball Z. I'm really happy I took the time to go back and re-experience this. Now, if only I could find that VHS. Let me know in the comments if you've seen this special. You know, did you grow up with it? Did you see it later? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you indifferent toward it? I mean, say something down there, shit. Thank you for watching. Once again, my name's Ryan or Robert Bite, signing off.